with me.
Oh, you're doing great. You're doing
Okay.
great.
All
Sometimes,
right.
sometimes you have to talk like a computer, to help out. Just go 110 011 and
Yeah. So, aloha. My name is Molly, and I'm the case manager at Ikahi Mediation Center. Welcome to our Finding Solutions Growing Peace Brown Bag Lunch series. Ikahi is a nonprofit community mediation center serving East Hawaii. We were founded in 1983 as a program of the Island of Hawaii YMCA, and in 2006 became our own independent nonprofit. We empower people to come together, to talk and to listen, and to explore options, and to find their own best solutions. To achieve this mission, we offer mediation, facilitation, and training, like this one, to strengthen the ability of diverse individuals and groups to resolve interpersonal conflicts and community issues. Our Brown Bag Lunch series are held every third Thursday at noon on Zoom. You have to register on Eventbrite each time to receive the Zoom link. We are having a speaker on October 19th, but we don't quite know who it is yet. So, we're open for ideas or suggestions. At the end of the talk, we'll ask you to fill out a short survey, which helps with our grant funding for this free series. When I put the survey link in the chat, please take a moment to give us your thoughts. We'll also send out an email later with the slides, if applicable, and video link. Without further ado, let me introduce our topic and our speaker, neuroplasticity and resilience, how to be responsive rather than reactive. Indy Rishi Singh is a well-being engineer, and trust me, I had to ask him all about it because it's fascinating. He leads corporate wellness workshops and retreats with Fortune 500 companies, provides burnout and resilience retreats and workshops for healthcare workers, law enforcement, and activist organizations, presents mindfulness workshops with students in schools and universities, and is an active volunteer locally and globally. Indy is part of the nonprofit Cultivating Self, a community of empowered healers. All right, take it away, Indy.
whoa, I don't know how I can follow that up. Where's that guy? Who are you talking about? Where is he? Where is he back here? But well, thank you. Well, I mean, first and foremost, let me make sure, because from my end, I don't think I'm spotlighted. I can see everybody, the whole group. So just making sure if that's the intention to spotlight, to click the three little dots in the little corner and click the spotlight that person. Boom. Oh yeah. Oh, you got your technical advisor over there. Nice. Excellent. Technical support. Awesome. Excellent. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and you can all see me all clearly and big, right? It was good? Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So, well, thank you so some of you guys shared. Thomas, by the way, thank you for sharing in the chat that you compose music, and some of that music can also be helpful and serve in terms of resilience and neuroplasticity. I feel first and foremost, let's drop this in the chat. And not only chat, like let's set some parameters here, because I love the idea of dynamic facilitation. And I mean, as much as of course, as much as I miss being in class and sitting watching the teacher at the front of the class, as much as I miss, I'm just kidding, I'm being facetious, I don't miss that at all. I would love for us to be more dynamic in this facilitation, in the sense that number one, the chat is open, and as you guys are sharing stuff in the chat, I'm definitely going to bring that into the space. But also, if you do feel called to share verbally, I would love that. However, I hope that the agreement that we can set is to be succinct, right? To share with just a few words, right? That can keep the conversation flowing, right? It's more about us, sharing things and throwing things into the collective soup. But the collective soup still has a direction and intention, and the intention of the impact of this conversation can actually play out, right? Because sometimes you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Somebody will share a story and they'll just keep sharing the story, and it's like, dude, before you know it, the session's over. It's like, wait, I thought, people take up space, right? And it's not even their fault. Sometimes we're just not being heard in our life, right? And for whatever reasons, we're not being heard. And then we get a moment to be heard. We just take up the whole space. I've been there too. Look, I'm doing it right now. Oh, wait, hold on. This is my session. So maybe I can do this. Wait, Molly, can I do that? Can I take up space? Am I allowed? All right, so I'm officially allowed, right? So my name is on there, so I could take a space. But I do want to open it up for y'all. So let me open it up this way. if anybody wants to share, I'm gonna throw a question out there. If you want to share audibly, just hop on the mic and share it. And whatever voice breaks through, obviously sometimes Zoom chooses, right? But like maybe also this is an experiment in neuroplasticity, right? Because neuroplasticity is all these different unique ideas, but it also is the idea of us being able to listen while we also participate, better, right? Listening is a part of developing neuroplasticity as well. So that being said, let's ask this question to all of you. Drop it in the chat or hop on the mic. What is neuroplasticity? Anybody? In the
brain's
chat?
ability to change itself.
Awesome. Wait, say that again, Darlene.
The brain's ability to change itself.
The brain's ability to change itself. I can dig it. And we got over here in the chat, resilience, a type of plastic. Yes, the brain's plastic. Ability to build new bridges. No real idea, which is very neuroplastic of you, Lou, by the way, to have no real idea. Okay. Curiosity also kind of nudges neuroplasticity. And not knowingness. That's a thing. Just kidding. Kidding, by the way, is also when you laugh and make jokes. That's also very neuroplastic. Brain expansion. Awesome. So we got some good mixture of things in here. Evolution we got in there. All right. I like these. Rewiring of the brain. I'm rewiring my brain just saying that. So all of you guys are sharing is right? It is, neuroplasticity is this amazing current realization in modern science, neuroscience, and neurophysiology, right? That we like, oh my God, there's this thing happening with not just our brain, but our whole nervous system, right? It's always constantly evolving and growing and changing. However, this was known by the yogis of India. This was known by the mystics of Africa. This was known by the First Nations people of of the Americas, by the Egyptians. But this is not a new thing. By the what do they call the Pythagoreans, right? Of Greece. This is not a new thing that like actually we can develop new neural connections. We could continue growing and evolving. We could even tune in to parts of us that make us youthful and young, right? Because when we're young, we're developing new neural connections really quickly. But we get older, things start to atrophy, either by choice or by stress, right? So this is something that we need to start understanding, that the power of neuroplasticity is really at our fingertips. But just like with any tool, it can be harnessed in a way that's detrimental, or it can be harnessed in a way that's beneficial, right? We can certainly develop neural connections that make us worry more. We can develop neural connections that make us stress more. We could develop neural connections that create neural pathways of bad habits, right? That like we connect bad habits and start connecting bad habits and making new bad habits. And next thing we know, we're like stuck in a vortex of bad habits, right? But also we can use neuroplasticity to develop good habits, right? Or build resilience, or learn how we can deal with conflict in a different way, right? Like here, like raise your hand out there, raise your hand, or like proverbially raise it. Do you deal with conflict often? All right, so we all are dealing with conflict often. The idea of neuroplasticity suggests that we can start to address conflict in a different, more unique and different ways, right? That we can actually develop tools within ourselves to address conflict in a way that doesn't extract from us, where we're like feeling, maybe extract is not the word, where we're feeling depressed, or we're feeling attacked, or we're feeling, we're just feeling like we're unable to actually make the impact that we want to make in the world, right? We feel drained. Yes, thank you, right? And that we want to address that proactively. And so this conversation is about this. This is not just a conversation. Like I said, this is dynamic. So we're going to actually practice some stuff. Some of you guys that came here earlier, you heard me share music, right? And then the music, we also shared music that helps us build resilience. That's the number one thing for me, right? When we come to like neuroplasticity, it's about listening, right? And it's not just about listening of what's inside of you or what's coming from outside of you, but also listening what's happening within you. So let's do our first exercise and our first practice in this space. Are you guys ready to rock and roll? Yes? Okay. So really quickly, drop in the chat or hop on the mic. What is a mantra? A mantra. Oh, you've heard. Oh, sorry, I'm Indian. Okay, I have to like say things the Indian way. A mantra. which the Indian way to say it properly, not appropriated, the appreciative way, if you're going to appreciate Indian culture and language, it's mantra, right? Mantra, yantra, tantra, right? Not mantra. So, okay, we got a daily focus, a phrase you repeat to keep your focus, chant, a sayer or prayer of affirmation, something you repeat to yourself, and hopefully positive thoughts and words, prayer, saying repeated to help meditate. Okay, wow, all of them. Beautiful. You guys are awesome. So some of y'all actually practice, looks like, mantras and meditation. So mantra, it's interesting. Some of y'all said it's positive. I'm going to give you guys a spin here. Mantra doesn't necessarily connotate positive or negative. Just like this thing over my shoulder right here, there's an yin and yang of mantra, right? You can actually, so drop in the chat really quick. What do you think is a negative mantra? What's an example of a negative mantra? Like a negative mantra? Worry. Yeah, right? Like literally, there's practices we do of self-criticism as a mantra, right? Because sometimes some of us are repeating mantras that was given to us by our mothers or our aunties or our fathers, actually. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but we're actually repeating things that we heard when we were children, right? Those mantras can actually be embedded within us, in our consciousness. I can't do this. Complaints. Murphy's Law. That's I love that. I've never heard that one before, but I dig that one. Murphy's Law is definitely a mantra for sure. I'm not worthy, right? So we have these negative mantras. We certainly have to acknowledge them. Fear is a negative mantra, right? Because now, we're getting projected fear by media, right? And like news. So we also, and social media and all this stuff, but then at the same time, like we're internalizing it. So when we go out in the world, we're like, oh my God, maybe this will happen, or maybe this will happen, or maybe this will happen to my child. And we start just circulating these negative thought patterns, which thought patterns are mantras, right? There's just some mantras you make it into a voice, you actually verbalize them, right? But you can actually be doing them in your head. So here's what we're going to do. The first exercise we're going to do is do a practice of mantra. But I'm going to share you guys, share a technique that I learned when I was, after I left medical school. I didn't even tell you guys where I came from, the background. Oh my gosh, right? I should probably give you guys a preface. I started in medical school. I was a good Indian boy, and I went to medical school, and I burned out in medical school. I didn't have tools to deal with the stress, the anxiety, the work hours. I mean, there's a lot of bad habits we learn in medical school. Go figure, right? We go to medical school and you don't learn, like you would never go to an auto mechanic that had terrible cars in their garage, right? But how many times do we go see doctors and therapists and we don't check, are they healthy? Are they happy? And we just take their advice. You would never do that with a mechanic, or a plumber, but we all the time go see therapists and doctors and don't evaluate whether they're healthy and happy themselves. So anyways, put that on the side. So after I left medical school, I went to India and I had to reconnect with my heritage and my culture, right? Because I had kind of like been stripped of it, trying to be too American that I forgot what it meant to be Indian and what kind of knowledge and wisdom still exists in India, right? It's not like gone. It hasn't been destroyed by colonialism or anything else, right? Or commercialism. Although America is doing the Western culture is doing a really good job at ruining yoga, right? Yogic philosophy, and yogic psychology. However, here we are having this discussion. So I'm going to share something I learned when I was in India, and I was spending time in the Himalayas. And one of the things I learned up there was a way to practice mantra that kind of you can use any mantra, right? It's not prescriptive in the sense that, oh, like a one size fits all, use this mantra. And a lot of meditation, I call them meditation cults, right? Or like spiritual cults, they like go, you got to do this mantra and this is the right one and only this one will work. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Something's off about that, especially coming from the Sikh tradition. We're like, question everything, right? Always question everything. And I was like, I don't know about that. But the one that I learned was like, hey, anybody can use any mantra. It doesn't matter. So here's how we're going to practice this, okay? We'll start with something that's simple, but you don't have to start with the one I'm suggesting. It's just for those of y'all that have a mantra already, you can use that. So, whether you want to share it in the chat or not, you can, but some mantras are good, sacred, right? Where they're just internalized within you. So whatever one you're choosing, choose a mantra, right? Pick a mantra. And if you don't have a mantra, we're going to use I am and I can. So I'll write it in the chat. I am and I can. Okay. Not I am in a can, I am and I can, okay? Some people start saying I am in a can, I am in a can. It's like, no, you're not in a can, okay? No, I am and I can. So we can all try that together at first, but I'm prefacing it to say that this is just something I'm making up. That is using the English language without imposing any sort of like ideology or perspective. That's just something that I came up with that it feels good. And I've done this with kids, I've done it with seniors, I've done it with so many different people. I've noticed it's very it's even. I don't know what the right word, Molly, for this, but it's just like it's not polarizing, you know, like that. There you go. That's the one, right? So I am and I can. It's universal. Thank you, right? So let's try this. I am and I can. And this practice right here is something that will really aid you when we talk about being responsive versus reactive. Because a lot of times, actually, before you start, so start repeating I am and I can. I am and I can. I am and I can. Okay. Start repeating that, or whatever mantra you want to use. Okay. But repeat that not out loud, but repeat it in your consciousness, in your thoughts. So continue, like repeat it in your thoughts. Okay. I'm watching you. All right, Thomas, I'm watching you. All right, I see it. Are you repeating it? Oh, yeah, yes, you are. Okay, I see it. Okay. All right, Darlene. Okay. Yeah, okay, I can see. Okay. Oh, Rosalie. Okay, yep, I can hear you. I can hear you saying it in your head. Okay, so everybody, I am and I can. I am and I can. So just repeat it. Keep on repeating it. Keep on repeating it. In your consciousness, repeat it. But what I would love to have you explore, as you continue to repeat it, just keep repeating it. Explore how you can actually continue listening to me. Right? That's really important to create that nuance, that while I'm speaking, you could continue to repeat something in your consciousness and still hear me. In fact, as you're repeating, I am and I can, I am and I can, and you're listening to me, nod if you can hear what I'm saying. All right, so you can hear what I'm saying while you're repeating something in your mind. Just keep going, keep playing with this. It's kind of like a muscle, right? We have to build spiritual muscle, right? Just like we build muscle, we have to build spiritual muscle, or psychological muscle, or psychic muscle, whatever words you want to use, right? Just the idea that we're using our consciousness. Can we start to practice and strengthen our consciousness, right? So repeating I am and I can, keep on repeating it, okay? Now start to see if you can repeat the I am and I can, or any mantra that you're using, okay? Repeat it with your breath. So connect the I am and I can to maybe an inhalation. Connect an I am and I can to a pause between your inhalation and exhalation, and then connect it to an exhalation. So, you know, maybe one I am and I can is your inhalation, one I am and I can is a pause, and one I am and I can is an exhalation. Just start to explore that real quick. Some of you guys might have really good breathing techniques, right? You breathe deeply every day, you meditate. See if you can extend it. Maybe you do 3 I am and I cans with an inhalation, 3 with a pause, 3 with an exhalation, whatever feels good for you. But just start to explore how you're connecting the mantra. You're connecting something that feels good, that feels safe, that makes you feel I am and I can. I am and I can, right? It feels good because I can do stuff. And I am who I am, right? It feels really, it builds confidence. It feels good. But as you're saying it, see if you connect it to your breath. That's really the powerful key right here is, can you start to connect your breath to your consciousness in a way that you can still listen in an active way? I don't feel like any of you are not listening to me. And that's the beauty of it. I don't feel like I'm unlistened to. I don't feel like you guys are ignoring me. Yet, I am recognizing a little bit that there is an increased super awareness of what's happening, because at least for those of you that are repeating the mantra, you're starting to notice it's kind of harder to let your mind go off track. And then some of you have already gone off track. It's like, I don't want to do this mantra. I'm over there. But some of y'all are recognizing that actually by keeping your mind on track like this, you're actually preventing it to get distracted. You're actually training yourself against distractions, which we're in a distraction economy now. So we're always getting distracted. So can we train ourselves to be less distracted? This is one way. Certainly you're learning right now. So keep going. I am and I can. Now challenge yourself a little bit extra. Can you do I am and I can with a more elongated breath, like breathing in more deeply, pausing, exhaling more deeply? Can you really stretch the I am and I can, or whatever mantra you're using? Can you really stretch it out? Can you maybe say I am and I can, maybe you sing it. Maybe it's like, I am and I can, and you're singing it in your consciousness. And maybe that feels good. And if it feels good, some of you guys might smile, right? It makes me smile when I sing in my mind, right? But certainly feel what it feels like to feel the mantra, right? To feel like you're saying something in your consciousness and not with your mouth. Because we often are feeling things in our mouth And that creates even more reactivity, right? When we use the vibrations of words. But what if we're actually creating the vibration with our consciousness? How does that translate to our emotions before we even come out with the emotion? So keep trying it, keep a couple more flows, see how that feels, just really kind of tuning in with that mantra. Maybe now you switch to a mantra that feels more aligned with your values or your spiritual background or your cultural background or whatever, your popular culture background, right? Right? Whatever feels good. Tune in with whatever that might be, the Taylor Swift song, right, is playing in there. It really doesn't matter. I'm not attached. Mantra could be anything. You can make it up. It doesn't have to be intelligible. So those last couple ones, just finish it off. Really tune in and finish it. And I'm going to open up the space. So we have the people in the chat, right? Some of you guys shared, yes, wow, works for me. I am in a can, very interesting. Or hop on the mic. How do you guys feel, or how did that feel, or was there discomfort? Like, please share. Like, was it hard? Where was it challenging? Does anybody have anything to share with that? Throw it in the chat or hop on the mic. Hello, caller.
Hi.
Hi, Caroline.
So, hi, how's that? So it's usually very hard for me, but today I was surprised it worked because my brain is all over the place. So it's something I can really practice, and maybe with my sons who are adults with neurological things going on. But yeah, something different. That's cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. That's beautiful. Thank you for that sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable in that too. Anybody else?
I'll share.
Yes.
It definitely worked as I didn't have any distractions. I could completely hear what you were saying, and I was saying the mantra. It was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And the chat really quick, just to acknowledge some of the people. I really liked the breath. And Darlene shared, I am on the inhale and I can on the exhale. So that's kind of cool to kind of switch it up, right? And also change the intention with the breath. You know, anybody else? I like that Britt shared the shake it off trombones. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of our imagination. Actually, if you want to practice being more resilient and you want to really tune into the neuroplasticity of your consciousness, it really is allowing sometimes these nuanced imaginative properties to kind of enter our space, especially when we're doing very difficult work or work that really kind of burns us out. Or if we're, our energy is going into spaces that really are really heavy spaces, right? We really need to lean in more to imagination, right? So also we don't bring the imagination into harming our families or harming our loved ones or harming the people we're trying to serve, because assumptions are dangerous, right? We use imagination for assumptions. We use imagination to project on people. We use imagination for all kinds of toxic things. But what if we're more conscious with our imagination in a way that's serving us and serving others better, right? Remember, everything's got a positive and negative spin. I mean, I'm not making this up. This thing right here has been around a long time. I don't know if you guys noticed recently, they took a picture of an electron, right? Like an electron microscope, and it actually looked like a yin yang symbol. You guys can look it up. It's like just came out like a couple of weeks ago. Like, whoa, like they just found that. So it's like this thing, something's going on with this idea that there is a negative and positive spin to all things, right? So we shouldn't be too attached. My imagination loves to make up stories about how unworthy I am. There's toxic imagination, right? So we have to be, how do we spin that in the positive way? So, okay, so I have another question is, does anybody have any questions about the exercise we just did? Because what I just shared right now with you is because so many of y'all, and I know some of you are in the space of therapy and holding space for other people and in the nonprofit world, like dealing with a lot of people who are, going through challenging times right now, right? And trying to listen really well and trying to be available for people. Are there any questions about what we talked about, how it relates to even that? Like, for example, let's say somebody comes in, and let's say just somebody in your life and wherever you work, they come in and they're really angry, or it's a loved one who's really upset and really angry. Could you use this meditation practice, this mantra practice, to listen better? Would it help? Certainly, it's something to explore in the sense that, you know, we already know what we do. We already know we react, right? Like we react in certain situations, especially when we're triggered. But what if we have a practice that we're developing in our consciousness that would allow you to be more responsive? Like, so I don't know if this will work or not. I don't know, right? I actually come to this with literally, somebody shared it earlier when we started. I don't know. I don't know if this will work or not, but you have to experiment yourself so that you can practice within yourself. Can you create a practice that when you're listening to somebody, you don't get triggered and you don't react, but you still continue to listen? That's the challenging thing, right? Is to listen well without reacting. And what if we use tools in our consciousness to do that, right? Especially when things like, you know, I know a lot of people say active listening is imagining what somebody's talking about, but what if somebody's making something up, you know, right? You don't want to imagine that, right? So you don't want to do active listening with imagination during those moments. So maybe having a mantra practice that helps you know thyself, right? That you like can practice this meditation or mantra. So you always know how to center yourself, that you're doing it whether you're sitting at a stream or at a lake or a river or the ocean, or you're doing it when you're in a high stress situation. Like if you can maintain that kind of integrity, then it'll cross over into high stress situations, right? Somebody says, if your mind is focused on mantra and breath rather than getting upset and thinking of what we are going to say, that's another thing, right? A lot of people are thinking what to say, how to respond, what's the best way to react really quickly. But try this out, right? Try this next time, try this meditation, practice it. But also remember that it's a cultivation, right? These are muscles you have to build. So maybe right away, you might not get the results, but try a few times. See, especially if you have kids, right? Try your best. Or sometimes people are telling a story. See if you can listen to their story a little bit longer, if you can practice a mantra meditation. Yes, would love to be able to listen well without reacting to high stress situation when someone is blowing up. And that's a tough one, right? So I'm going to give you guys another quick trick. So we did a mental meditation, right? Let's do a hand one, something we do with our hands. You guys ready for this? So this is something also I learned. I learned in Varanasi, one of the oldest cities in the world that's still existing, right? It's an ancient city. So take your hands and you like kind of all your fingertips. You kind of want to touch all your fingertips together. And it's almost like you have like a ball in the middle of it, right? Really, you want to make sure your fingers are like loose and comfortable, right? Because you don't want them rigid, okay? So here's something, this practice is really cool because we're practicing our corpus callosum. Am I saying it right? Callosum, whatever. English is not my first language, okay? So we're holding these together. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose a direction and we're going to rotate. But we're not going to touch our fingertips, right? We're going to like try our best to not let them touch, right? And then we're going to bring it back together in the same direction. You're going to do your index fingers. Maybe just a couple of rounds around each other. Try your best not to let them touch. If they touch, it's okay. Give yourself forgiveness, right? Give yourself a break. All right, bring it together. Do your middle finger. Middle finger, rotate. Okay, it's getting a little bit more challenging. It's okay. Maybe you got to smile. Maybe it's okay to be a little silly and mess up. It's totally fine. Okay, bring it together. Do your ring finger now. Ooh, this one's a doozy. You have to really focus. Oh my gosh, you have to focus so hard on this one. All right. Okay. Be forgiving to yourself. Okay, cool. And then do your pinky finger. Now, after your pinky finger, whatever rotation you were doing, whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise, away from you, towards you, reverse that direction. Now go back through your fingers from your pinky. Now do your ring finger. All right, do your ring finger, rotating it. Now maybe try closing your eyes and doing your middle finger without looking at your fingers. See if you can do it while focusing, not letting them touch. Maybe do your pointy finger now, right? Pointy finger, and then your thumb, right? And if you want, you can continue doing this at your leisure. You can continue doing this or not. Just notice that if you keep doing this, you can continue to listen to me, right? And we can continue this conversation, and you'll start to notice that one of the biggest things that you're doing in this right here is you are actually forcing your left and right hemisphere of your brain to communicate, right? When I brought up corpus callosum, does anybody want to drop in the chat, by the way? What does that do? What does the corpus callosum do, right? So when you're doing this, you're creating neural connection. I guess the best way is you have electrical signals communicating between your neurons, right? And some of these neurons, the signal is actually coming at a synaptic cleft. It's kind of like it's like a train station, right? It's arriving at a train station, right? All these signals, right? What you're doing by doing this practice is you're kind of like forcing all the trains to come back, right? You're forcing them. You're like, hey, come back to your station, come back, come back, come back, come back. So you're like almost training and retraining your brain to activate and communicate between both sides. So in a way, you're kind of forcing your, actually somebody said connects brain to hemisphere. What is one hemisphere known better for and one's other one's known better for? You could say it or you could drop it in the chat. What are the nuances? But go ahead, Charlie. Charlie's excited about this one. Charlie, you got to share. Charlie bit my finger. Charlie, you got to unmute. Oh no, maybe we got to unmute you. Hold on. How do I unmute you, Charlie? Oh, I can't find you on here. Oh, well, that's okay. Oh, I can't unmute you. Darn. Okay, what else do we got here? We got creativity is right. Thank you for that, Jill. Okay, so what's the other side? So if creativity is your right hemisphere, the other side is, oh wait, it goes down here. Art versus science, logic and intellect. Oh my gosh, you guys dropped Charlie. Thank you. Intellectual and creative. Thank you. So when we are doing something like this, we're actually literally like allowing the logic part of our brain and the creative side of our brain to have a communication with each other. So in a way, when you're talking about being responsive versus reactive, when you're doing this and you're listening to somebody, or you're doing this while you're watching or learning something, or you're doing this in any sort of activity, you're literally bridging connections and communication and electricity between hemispheres of your brain. So you're becoming both better logically, I mean, maybe better is not the word, you're becoming imaginatively logical or logically imaginative. So think about what that means. Like, what is the implication? So let me ask you guys, what's the implications for actually bridging better communication between hemispheres and like almost forcing it? In a way, this is the teacher that I learned this from. She works with children, and one of the things she does with children is she helps them rehabilitate from being off the street. Right? Some of these kids have come through really traumatic situations. They're being used as, I mean, you guys don't want to get me started on the stories. I'm going to start crying, talking about it. But this practice is used in yogic practices to retrain the brain out of trauma. Right? So, I mean, this is not just some simple, but who do we see do this in movies? Or who sits there in business meetings, like this, right? So certainly there is like some aspect of power that we're tuning into with this, right? It's like something powerful happening here. Darlene says neuroplasticity is a consequence. Lots of neuroplasticity is a consequence. Addresses emotions and logic at the same time. Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, it's just like literally allowing us to kind of play in the middle world, the middle space between logic and emotions, right? Because, either too much of either side, we kind of know what happens, right? An extreme of logic has consequence and an extreme of emotion has consequences. But what happens when we put it together? Is this what music does? Like left and right hemispheres, left and right hands playing together on a piano. Yes, Suzanne, exactly. You can logically explain your faith. Thank you, Elizabeth. That's the first time I've heard that one, but I'll dig it. I dig it a lot. It's what happens in brainstorming and meditation. Oh man, you guys are amazing. Same concept in dancing, hula, Shirley. Yes, both of the body and dance, right? Because you're using the logic and you're using, I'm totally not doing it right. I can do Bhangra, where I come from in India, right? We definitely got to use both sides of our brain when we're doing that. So your Bollywood dancing is a lot of similar, using both left and right hemisphere of your brain too. So thank you guys for all that kind of like tuning in. Guys, keep sharing or whatever you want in the chat. Certainly, like I've given you guys 2 exercises, right? You have a mental practice, like a mantra that you could practice. But this exercise we did right here, this is tantra. So we did mantra and tantra, right? And tantra, you guys have heard that before. Well, how is it said? Tantra. This is not tantra, this is tantra, right? And tantra is actually not what you think it is. It's gotten a bad rep in the, it's been appropriated in a lot of really toxic ways. But tantra is actually understanding how to use our senses well. Like, how do we practice our senses in a way that we can start to become more resilient, right? In fact, not just resilient, but what's the other side of it? How do we generate well-being? Talk about well-being engineering. How do we engineer better well-being? Well, it's through tantra, right? Tantric practices, which is like using your touch, better, right? Using your sense of touch, right? But then you also have listening and you also have seeing, right? So you can see different colors and practicing different colors. And that's also a tantric practice. You can go out in nature and listen to different sounds in nature. And that's also a tantric practice, right? So tantra shows up whenever you're practicing your senses. Actually, drop that in your chat. How are the different ways you practice your senses? Because that's also another way to develop your responsiveness, is actually developing your senses. So how do you develop your senses? How do you develop your sense of smell? Do you practice that? Do you like regularly do a practice of practicing your sense of smell? Do you regularly do a practice of developing your sense of sight? Do you regularly listen to cookies? Oh my God. Oh, I love that one. Listen to cookies. Heck yeah. That's perfect. That helps me sleep really well. Tai Chi out in the ocean with a breeze, playing violin, noticing the bird sounds and smells on my evening walk, surfing. Oh my God, surfing is super tantric, right? Cooking, art, film. Is taste a tantra? Well, taste can be a tantra if you're practicing, right? Like if you're like trying different tastes, right? Because it's neuroplastic actually. Like as you're trying different taste palettes, right? Like, you know, spicy and salty. Actually, drop it in the chat. What are the different major palettes of taste, right? And then you do different permutations of that. You're actually practicing your neuroplasticity. But not only are you practicing your neuroplasticity, but you also might be practicing emotional intelligence with different tastes. Because what if they're connected? What if actually your emotions and your ability to tolerate emotions is connected to your ability to tolerate taste? Whoa, guys. Now we're getting to some like really interesting stuff. We got sweet, sour, bitter, pungent, umami, right? Which is interesting for us to start to think about, right? Is how, even if we're working with people or we have people in our loved ones, if they're unable to taste certain spice, like if they can't have spiciness or they can't have sourness or they can't, like, how does that translate in their consciousness, in their emotional intelligence? Maybe with that awareness, we could be more forgiving or more aware or more just have a better, more information about the situation. It's also relevant to us, right? Like if we're unable to access certain flavors, right? How does that also translating within us? Like, are there spaces that we're uncomfortable emotionally? Curiously, something for us to explore, right? This is actually really interesting because you got to think about it, you guys. Your gut is the first thing that forms. It's not your heart. It's not your brain. The first thing that forms when we're organisms is our gut. So just contemplate that for a moment, right? So your gut is more closely related to your emotions than your brain and your heart. They're important too, but your gut's really important, right? Not just your emotions, just our sense of existence. Our gut is super important. When we talk about neuroplasticity, most of your serotonin comes from your gut, from the microorganisms in your gut. So we need a healthy gut to have more resilience and more responsiveness and better neuroplasticity. Yeah, thank you, Shirley. I guess that's when they say worried is felt in the gut, right? And we have butterflies feelings, right, in our gut, right? We have a feeling of butterflies in our gut too. So we get a lot of information from our gut if we listen. But also it's important for us to have a healthy gut too. So make sure you eat your probiotics, right? Make sure, you know, you get out in the dirt often, right? Go to get your hands in the dirt once in a while, Molly, right? Just so you can get those probiotics, right? So you can get those healthy microbiome. To unmute, I have to go. Oh, okay, good. Charlie's saying that. Okay, my bad. Why does somebody want to say something? Thank you, Caroline. Thanks for sharing too. Okay. Oh wow, we have Molly. How much time do we have? 10 minutes?
13 minutes, if you're asking me.
Oh, there's 2 Mollys. Thank you, Molly. Thank you.
Indy,
Sorry.
can
Yes,
you
Charlie.
hear me? This is Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
I was trying to talk to you earlier, and in the past, we just clicked on the little unmute, the little mic with a slash in it.
Perfect.
You have to go to your picture and go up to the 3 dots, and then you can unmute.
Beautiful.
And what I'm saying is in mediation, brainstorming really is using the skills you're talking about, because in brainstorming, you use the emotions and the intellect.
I love that.
That's what I'm sharing. I'll
That's
mute myself again.
Thanks, Charlie. Actually, it's funny these days when I've been doing a lot of not just mediation, but also collaboration with other people. I've stopped using the word brainstorming and I started using heartstorming. And so I'm like, all right, it's time to heartstorm, and we're gonna heartstorm now, and just kind of getting us more into the heart space when we are collaborating, because when our hearts match rhythms, we actually collaborate better, right? Then even if we intellectually are on board with each other, if our hearts are not connected, it creates actually dissonance and confusion with each other. But if our hearts are aligned, we could get anything done, right? So it's funny how we sometimes have to get out of our thoughts and get into our body to actually get somewhere more harmonious with each other, right? Or more cohesive with each other. Okay, so we got a couple more minutes. I want to leave you guys with one more practice. And this practice, I guess, there is no better or worse in my opinion, but really this is an opportunity for us to understand that if we're going to do anything in this world in the way that we intend to do it, we have to recognize where we come from. But that also kind of connects us with this idea that what if where we came from is still with us? Okay, so I'm gonna give this about 5 minutes. I got this wonderful flute here, which is gonna give us a little bit of guidance here. You guys, I hope you guys like flutes, right? And so this is this is a Basudi flute. This is a classical Indian flute, but this was made by Maui bamboo. So it's Indian classical flute made with Maui bamboo that we found in the Maui bamboo forest. And I'm gonna share this with you. I'm gonna play a little of a tune, but the meditation, the invitation is you could either do this with your hands, okay? Or you could do the mantra that we were practicing, or maybe a mantra that you have, right? But beyond that, the invitation is kind of to explore how you can also notice how you can have different trains of thought, right? So you have your mantra train, you have this train, right? You are listening to me playing the flute train, but I'm going to invite you to become a little bit of a director of your consciousness, of your mind, and start to imagine. And first imagine, and maybe it's not even imagination, but first recall your ancestors and all of the experiences of resilience and courage that your ancestors have experienced. So like, just kind of bring that into your consciousness, bring into awareness. It could be your imagination. It could be actually information because people have passed stories down through generations. It could be both, right? Or it could be a combination, right? Where it's you're bringing things together, and let those things come up, and then really kind of like connect with those things, connect with those ancestors, and bring them into the space that we're all in, right? So invite them to be with us, right, in this moment, right? So let's do that for a couple of minutes, and have fun with that. And then we'll talk about it before we head out. right. Few more deep breaths. Really tuning in and calling in those ancestors. And when you're ready and you feel good, the invitation is to rub your hands together really quickly, heat them up, nice and warm, and then rub it on your face. And you can put it on your body, wherever you feel you need some extra love, wherever, you know. Remember, your hands have a lot of energy in them. We were just doing a really great practice with your hands. But what if when we heat them up, it actually helps us move things in our body, or maybe just connect with certain parts of our body that need connecting with. And as we come back to this space, let me ask you guys, how, please hop on the mic or drop in the chat. How does it feel bringing in, or are there any specific stories? Like, did anything come up about your ancestors that you want to share about the resilience they've experienced and the courage that they experienced, and how that's inside of you? Like, did anybody recognize that you have those traits within in you now? Anybody want to hop on the mic or drop in the chat? How does it feel to bring in our ancestors in that way? In that kind of intentional way to actually access their courage and their resilience? Supported. Thank you. Diana, thank you. Yeah, it's amazing, right? Like, to recognize that when we go out, whatever we're doing out in the world, that with us, inside of our DNA, literally in our epigenetics, we don't just have trauma in our epigenetics. We also have courage and resilience. Because that's right? Epigenetics suggests that we're carrying emotional information from our ancestors. So what if we're also carrying their emotional intelligence regarding resilience and courage and curiosity and neuroplasticity? It's okay. And by the way, Jen, it's okay if it didn't show up this time. But maybe it's a practice to, before you're doing something really important, something that requires extra responsiveness, right? What if we bring in our ancestors? What if it's just our imagination? What if we're just making it up and we're just like bringing our ancestors that were courageous, that were resilient, and we bring, or maybe it's our grandma, or maybe it's our grandma that passed away, or maybe it's our great aunt that we heard about through our through our cousins. What if we bring people into the space when we're dealing with really tough situations? And we're dealing with a lot of tough situations right now, right? A lot of tough stuff happening right now. So maybe what if we bring in certain ancestors when we need them? Grandma is always a warm and comforting space. Thank you, Britt, for sharing that. There's a remembrance of their wisdom, a closeness, sense on place. Oh, thank you. Intense and inspiring. So this is something we can cultivate, okay? Invitation for all of you, right? So that we stay strong. Thank you, Shirley. That, we're going to be faced with challenges always. But for us to practice the neuroplasticity of imagination, the neuroplasticity of our physical connections, the neuroplasticity of our thought process and our thought patterns, right? And we have to practice these things. These are muscles, okay? It's not going to be one time or two times. It's going to be something we practice. And sometimes you make it your own. As you guys, I shared with you, I don't own any of this. There's no trademark, but you could pay me, but I only accept currency you make up. Okay. So you can pay me in currency you make up. I accept that, but you can't, I don't want your money. I don't want any of that stuff. What I would like is for all of us to be more courageous, for us to be more curious, for us to celebrate each other more, because we can do so much more when we're coming from that kind of place. I really believe we can live in an abundant and thriving society, but it really will require us to lean into neuroplasticity in this way, with compassion, with empathy, with our ancestors, but also thinking about our descendants too, right? We have to be thinking 7 generations forward, because our ancestors were thinking 7 generations forward. We kind of have to do that now too. We can't just be for ourselves anymore. That's kind of causing us a lot of harm, just only worried about ourselves. We have to be actually contemplating and even bringing in the people who have courage to show us how to have courage. Because if you don't have the courage, it's okay. There's people who have the courage. Let's learn from each other. If you're not curious, bring in the people who are curious to learn how to be curious, right? Bitcoin, I like that. You get paid in neuroplasticness. Yes, exactly. thank you all. Any questions, any thoughts, any feelings, anybody want to share? Indy, are you free to work with nonprofits and orgs? Oh my gosh, yes. I get hired to go into organizations and nonprofits to do all kinds of great work. This is only one kind of thing I do. I can bring laughter, and we could do a whole session on laughter and where everybody laughs together. And that's a whole nother type of neuroplasticity that we can dive into that radically connects teams. Like if you have teams that are disconnected, laugh together, watch what happens. Is there a way to connect with the way to contact me? Yes, email or LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great way, Indy Rishi Singh. And here, I'll drop my email here. You can also email me. I also have a podcast. It's called, hold on, what is it? I also have a podcast. Please check it out. It's called Political Hope, the podcast. So if you're curious, there's a bunch of people from Hawaii that have been interviewed actually on that podcast, surprisingly. But it's called Political Hope. It's on all the podcast servers, so you can see how I'm actually practicing neuroplasticity with politics. That's a doozy, right? Got to bring a lot of, but you got to be really responsive when you're dealing with politics, not reactive. Any questions or any thoughts? Anybody want to jump on the mic and share anything? Thank you, Melissa. Mahalo. Mahalo, Ratna. Mahalo, Nui. Oh my gosh, this makes me feel so good. I hope all of you, this really served where you're at right now. I'm really encouraged to see all of you here and present and taking the moment this afternoon to join us here. It's really, I'm just like, I'm just imagining all the ripple effects of this session. So I hope you guys stay tuned in. Let me know, please email me and let me know how this works out in your life, or like keep me posted. How is it? Any anecdotes, anytime people are sharing stuff about how they're benefiting from this, it motivates me, encourages me to show up even more, to be more courageous. So please share any anecdotes or any stories that you experience from this, or with your children. That's a big one for me, right? Is like, how do we support our children? So yeah, oh my God, it's so great. Thanks, guys.
So Indy, thank you so much for coming today. Your talk was amazing. I think it's one of my favorite ones so far. And I want to thank everyone else for coming today. Please take a few minutes to fill out our short survey online, which helps with our grant funding for this free series. The survey link is in the chat, and check your emails in the coming days for the link to the video. Mahalo, and see you next month.
Can I play him out? Can I play him out?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, guys, thank you.
Thank you, Indy. That was amazing.
Thank you,
Have a good day.
Darlene. Thank you, Molly. Thank you, everybody. Oh, you guys still tuning in here. Thank you, Caitlin, Rick, everybody, Beverly, Chandra. Thank you.
Let me know if you ever need somebody else to interview. I'm available.
Oh yeah, Darlene. She's awesome. Yeah, please. You should definitely have Darlene on. I recommend Darlene.
See you later.
Thank you, Council District 3. Awesome. Yay. Oh my gosh. So many amazing. Can you also save the chat, Molly?
I don't know how that works, but maybe.
Let's see. There's a button. Where can we save it from here? Oh, I can't do it from my end. But if you go on the bottom right where the chat is and you go to the bottom right, there should be a button that opens up that can say download chat. Where the chat is.
Yeah, I see.
It's just like so great, like what everybody shared. It's like
I know, yeah.
It's just fun to document this. Oh, heart mapping. Oh, that's way cooler. I like heart mapping, heart resonance, or heart connecting. Oh my God, I didn't even see that. That's great. See, yeah, this is why I need to look back at it. So many things I missed. Smell, essential oils. Oh my God, thank you. Aw, this is awesome.
All right, I think I have to end it.
All right, Molly.
Thank you so much, Rishi. I mean, Indy. I don't even know your name anymore. I'm so excited.
Same. It doesn't matter. It's all the same.
Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Have a beautiful evening. Afternoon. Take care.